Hello everyone, welcome back to Unconditional Surrender, World War II in Europe, designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. I am Dren608. I am presenting here my Me, Myself, and I campaign game of this game. This scenario is main event. My previous video, I explained the save file that I had built and I will be using to start this game off. We will go and get immediately to Poland and the like. I had stated previously I'm going to do a west first, so I am declaring war in the sequence of play here. There is the weather phase is no matter what I roll, it's going to be clear, so I'm going to skip that and go directly to the declare war phase. For the axis, I declare war on the western faction. This has the beneficial effect for the Soviets, if I can get up the right card here, of giving them back 40 will that they had to take off because of the appeasement policy. So they get back their 40 willpower back up to 85. Next, I declare war on Poland, and then I will decline to declare war on anything else. So, we're going to move the Polish markers into the western box for 12 willpower. And they have 3 factories, so they have 3 build points. And that takes care of that. The Western and Soviet powers are not allowed to declare war because we still have one of the pacts in place, the Nazi-Soviet pact. So that policy prevents them from declaring war. We go into the economy phase, and I'm going to kind of like do all 3 at once because it's just faster, rather than clicking through each one. So the French have 8 factories, so that's 16 build points. The British have 9 factories, so that's 18 build points. The Germans have 13 factories, so that's 26 build points. And the Russians have 9 factories, so that is 18 build points as well. So that should take care of that. Get through the economy phases. Strategic warfare, you need to have East invaded or West invaded happen before any of that starts, so we'll skip through that. The strategic movement phase. The Germans, now this is me playing the Germans. Other Germans probably don't do this, I don't know. But this is something that I have taken to doing on a fairly regular basis. I take the 1st Infantry here, put the strategic movement marker on him, and I strategically redeploy him to the border of Denmark. This is in case I get a lucky die roll either in October or November and get a clear weather turn. I'll be able to attack into Denmark right away. So that's why I do that. Also, me playing as the Allies, I see no reason to do any kind of strategic movement with either one. And we go into the operations phase for the Germans. Before I forget, I will go ahead and do this move. I take the 2nd Luft and rebase it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and add a sortie. Again, it's on the border of Denmark, so the western garrison is fulfilled because it's Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, France, or in Norway or Great Britain, or adjacent to one of those countries, which Denmark is. That takes care of sort of Western Front logistics. Now we're going to do the attack in Poland. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the build points here. Excuse me for just a second. I need to clear my throat there. have a okay. Have phone ringing in the background, and this is very annoying. But we'll try and get through this without too much more ado. Again, this is the way I do it. There's multiple ways of getting through Poland. People have their own pet perfect way of doing it. This is the way I do it. So, I activate the first Panzer, I guess that is. Actually, and I move here for one movement point, and then I attack this hex here. Where are we? Highlight, Control H. I gotta remember that. And that's going to cost me. Oh, my little buttons are not up. The attacker die roll modifier. I'm going to set up a couple things here so it makes it a little bit easier for me to track what I'm doing. I wish they would have had these locked on here instead of something you can pull up, but where am I? There it is. Okay. I have started with 10 movement points, actually. Moved 1, and then it costs 1 for the river, 1 for the hex, 1 for the unit, so 3 more. So I still have 6 left. I do tend to try to count down. It's easier to figure out if you can attack something or not. Combat-wise, I start off with 4 because I have 2 for the German, 2 because I'm an armored. Then I have to take away 1 for the river. Then I have to decide if I'm going to commit or not. As the Germans, I am going to commit, and I will use this airplane, the right here. The Poles don't have anything that can stop that airplane. The Poles, again, this is me. I tend to commit one of the ground support markers here for the Western faction, simply because I'm trying to get, if I get a lucky die roll, I can make the armor maybe have to spend 3 more points to move me out of that hex. So I go ahead and take pot shot here. I save the other ground marker for either the unit right above Warsaw or the one that's just east of Lodz. Those tend to be the next critical combats that come up that you can actually affect. So that makes the defense be +1, and the Germans get another +2 because of the airplane. And then we will roll a die. When I roll dice, I always roll the attacker first, the defender second, and anything that has to be put back on the turn track, like this ground support marker, I will roll that after I do the combat and resolve it. So, oh, that's not -1, it's +1. I'm trying to make it too easy on the Germans there. So the German combat die roll is a 6 + 5, which makes it an 11. And then the Polish die roll is as bad as it could possibly get. What a waste of my ground support. For those of you that don't know, an 11-2 is very, very bad. If you go and look on the combat table here, 11-2 is a defender eliminated. Whoosh. So, one thing I have found with my saved module, if you hit the eliminated and send this to the Western eliminated box, it will not come into this faction card. It will go into these. So you kind of lose that feature. I am working on the module to try and figure out a way to change that so that my saved module would be able to choose between which faction card to put it on. So instead, I'll just lift it, put it here, and in the future, you'll see me just pulling them off the map and putting them in the box rather than using the shortcut of Control E or whatever it is. So I could take that hex. I really don't need to, so I'm not going to bother. And that is so that I can spend 1 more movement point, and I move to here, and then I will attack into what is that? Posen, this hex. And that will cost me 2 for the city, 1 for the river, and 1 for the units. That's going to cost me 4 movement points. So I only have 1 movement point left. I start off again at normally +4. This is a very kind of important position. One of the bonuses that's on the combat result table here is the isolated bonus of +2. And I can't find it to highlight it, but it is on here. There it is, almost in the middle of the assault or mobile attack. He has no place to retreat. He'll end up in my zones of control. And he does not have a unit or a city or a fort adjacent. Even though he's in a city, that does not negate the isolation. He has to have a buddy or something of his side adjacent to him. So he doesn't have a friendly anything adjacent to him, so he is just isolated. So I get an extra +2 for that. And then I also am going to add in an airplane. To give me an extra +2. This is a place where I don't waste the support marker, because you're going to lose this battle pretty much no matter what you do. Now we have to reduce for terrain. It's -1 because I'm attacking a city, and minus another 1 because I'm attacking across the river. So it's a 6 to no pluses. The German die roll is a 3, +6 makes it a 9. And the Polish die roll, again, is a 1. I have been rolling 1s all day today. Not just in this game, but in a previous game I played earlier today. My first 3 die rolls, I think, were 1s. Again, a 9 to 1 is a fairly bad thing. If you look at the combat results table, a 9 to a 1 is a DE. So, once again, this goes here. One thing I have not been doing, I just lost 2 Polish armies. They are full armies, so that each one of them cost me a will point. And now I am about to advance into Posen. Kada. And that gives me a control marker. See? And that will also lose the Poles 2 more will for losing a home city. So now they're down to 8. This has been going very, very well for the Germans. I shudder to think what's going to happen to me in diplomacy. One thing I did forget to do was roll a die for the ground support. So I'm going to do that now. And it comes back in 5 turns. So I'm going to open up my turn track, put this 5 turns in the future. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. February. Yay. Okay. And I still have only spent 2 build points from the Germans, amazingly enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, just doing a quick count there. I need to open up this guy here, spend a build point to activate him. He will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it costs 2 to take an enemy city, so he goes 7, 8. Again, I am setting myself up for the next turn, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 10th Army here and activate him for a build point. And he will attack here. So now I'm starting with a German infantry unit instead of a armored unit. That gives me only +2 to start with. He is isolated, so I get another +2. And he is not in any kind of terrain, so there's no minuses there. I am going to go ahead and add to the sortie marker. If I can get this, there we go. That will give me another +2. So I'm at +6. If you look at the chart, the combat result chart, +6 means minimum I'm going to get is a 7, which means I have to roll a 5 or 6 to stay there. If I threw in the ground support, it would be a 4, 5, or 6, but he just spent only 2 movement points to attack me there, so he still has 6 left, which means he can attack me a whole bunch more times. So I think I'm going to save the ground support for, again, those 2 hexes I talked about earlier. So +6 for the German, 2 + 6 is an 8, and then for the Poles, a 3. So we go look at the combat results table again real quick. An 8 to a 3 is a DD result, which is good for the Germans, because a DD result requires me to flip him for the step loss. And then because he has no retreat, I have to apply the no retreat rule, which means he goes into the faction eliminated box. And his willpower goes down another 1. So he's down 1, 2, 3 units in 1 city. Oh, it should be a 2nd city. I forgot that I just captured another city. Silly me. I had captured Lodz, so he's actually down 2 more. He's down to 5. And this German unit, if I can get it clicked on, advances. Oh, I didn't expect that. He has 6 movement points left, so he could move here. 1. And he'd have 5, which would cost like 4 to attack into there. So we're going to go ahead and go 1 more movement point to there. And now there's a reason why I'm not going to attack this unit here. I do not want it to be able to retreat to this space. And if I were to attack, he would retreat to there and then be able to retreat into Warsaw. And I have another plan, diabolical German plan in mind. So we'll see that unfold here in just a moment. Moving 1 movement point there, I can actually attack into what is this, Krakow? Krakow. It will cost me 1 for the river and 2 for the rough terrain, or city, whichever one, and another 1 for the infantry unit. So I'd only have 1 movement point left. And so we're going to attack here instead. Now I start off at +2 as a German. I'm going to go ahead and throw in an airplane to give me another +2, because then I have to take off 1 for the river and 1 for the city/rough terrain. So I'm only at +2. Once again, I will not throw anything in for the Poles. And the Germans with a +2 get an 8. And the Poles get a 4. So we go look at the combat results table. For an 8 to a 4 is a defender retreat. Oh boy, they've never had this go this well. So he has to retreat to there. we're going to be able to advance into here, place a control marker, and lower their will by 2. Oh, I forgot to put my control marker up there. I'm not doing this well at all. I forgot that I walked through Danzig earlier. 2, 4, 6, they should be down 8, and 3 armies. So they're actually down to only 1 will left. I haven't been keeping track of that very well. So I've had some phenomenal die roll luck here. It usually doesn't go this well. So, as for my diabolical plan, it goes something like this. I spent 4, so I spend another 1 year to activate this infantry unit. I go 1, 2 because of the rail line. I don't have to count the river. And 3, and then I will spend 2 points to can't count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 3 movement points left. I start off at +2. I will add a sortie, and this is where I throw in the ground support because I'm trying to stave them off from getting to Warsaw. So put that there. That gives me a +1, and the Germans are at +4. So let's see what happens. The Germans roll another 6, and it's to a 3. So that's a 10 to a 3. I don't think that's good for the 10 to a 3 is a DD result. So he must flip and then retreat. And he can't retreat here because of his zone of control. And he can't retreat there because of his zone of control. So the only place he can retreat to is there. And with 3 movement points left. Okay, oh, and I need to roll for the ground support unit. I rolled a 1. He's going to get it back right away. Where's my turn track? So he's going to get that back in October. That's good news. I have 3 movement points left. I could take this hex and attack him, but then he would retreat into Warsaw. I don't think I want him to do that. So I think I'm in a quandary here because I normally don't get this good of a situation. I'm going to just move 1 movement point to here, and then I'm going to attack him again with my last 2 movement points. Again, I start at 2. He starts at -2 because he's been flipped. And I'll go ahead and add a sortie here, just so I can be at +4. So it's +4 to -2. Things are not looking good. Another 10 and a 0, which becomes a 1. A 10 to 1 is eliminated. And amazingly enough, without even capturing Warsaw, the Poles are going to collapse. That's a first for me. Usually I have to take Warsaw some way by hook or crook. But I had several very high 6, low number 1s or 2s splits that made a huge difference. So, following the rules, he'll go ahead and just leave him there. I don't need the hex because these units are all going to disappear. First step of conquest is the Polish units are eliminated. They're removed from the scenario. So we'll get rid of those. If we go over to the faction card, some stuff's going to happen here. Germany's will goes up by 2. And one thing I know I didn't pull out of the counters was markers. The next thing that happens is there's a pro-axis marker here is added to the diplomacy cup, which gives me a better chance of getting success. And then I get to place a pro-axis marker somewhere that's adjacent to Poland, and it's done before you cede territory, so you can actually put it down here in Bucharest to get them leaning towards Germany. That's something I almost always do with the Germans, because you're trying to sneak out. If you can get a political success, you can take Romania and deny the Bessarabia things to Russia until they bother to conquer Romania later in the war, which can help a little bit. Plus, it also gets you one less river line you have to defend or attack as the Germans. Boom, 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 boom. Remember, this is all happening during the operations phase. Now, the next thing in Conquest after all of that, I believe, is we start going to special cases. But I need to grab up my rulebook real quick here. Just double check my Conquest here. Okay, if Axis conquered a country, I put its will marker in my 1 box. So, this gets deleted. This gets deleted. This, unfortunately, goes over here to give the Russians bonuses in the strategic warfare phase when that starts to happen. And I get a German ground unit out of my conditional box, and I can put it in my eliminated box. This was not Italy. Poland was conquered. The Polish corridor's disputed area is ceded to me, so I get this little counter goes into my ceded area. The big effect that has on Germany is it actually adds to factory, to their total factory count, which will give them more build points. And then, since it's Poland, the eastern, at this point in time, the eastern Polish section is now ceded to Russia, so they have to go find Bessarabia, eastern Poland. There it is. And they get to take a unit out of their conditional box and put it in their eliminated. And they increase their national will by 2. So, kaboom. The Russians are getting closer and closer to 90 will. So, and this all happened in the middle of the German turn, so I still can do activations. Okay? That's the interesting part about this, is I'm not done moving yet. One of the things that happens is that Warsaw technically is still a western city. I'm not going to bother to put a control marker there because I'm just going to activate this infantry unit down here, and he's going to march up and take it, I believe. Or is it going to be the northern? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, this guy here gets activated for a build point. And he goes 1, 2, 3 into Warsaw, which makes it now German controlled. So I'll go ahead and place a control marker there. And then that was 3 into there, or 4 rather. No, yeah, because it was 1 for the river, 2, and then 3, 4 for the city. And then 5, 6, and 7-8. Just because I can. Since I don't need this armored unit, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to activate this guy here. So now I'm down to 19 build points. Oh no. This guy here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 8. You'll notice that I'm putting infantry units on the border with Russia because I'm going to have to leave 3 over here anyway, and I'm putting them in non-rail lines. The reason for that is so that in the future, when I'm trying to come back over here to get ready to attack Russia, the rail lines will simply be open for me to just strategically redeploy things. So one unit a turn can end up on those rail lines adjacent to Russian territory. It just makes your life a little bit simpler if you don't have to move anything off the rail lines to get them over there. And then finally, I'm actually going to spend 2 to activate this armored unit. And he's going to head back west. 2nd Panzer was not needed in Poland. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. So that is that, as they say. I'm pretty much done with my movement. I have to check for supply. Technically, if you look, I'm either adjacent to a rail line that rails back into Germany, or I'm in the Polish corridor there, so I'm in supply. All these guys are on rail lines or adjacent to rail lines, so everything is in supply. We don't have to worry too much about that. It gets a little bit more dicier when you go into Russia, and you can play some shenanigans in France. So that's the Axis operations phase. We go to the Western. They have a few little things to do here. I sort of call this the musical chairs of musical Frenchmen. First off, we'll do the British. They will spend 2. Where are they? Well, actually, let's do the French first. It's easier. So the French spend 2 to move this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they spend 1 to move this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I like to put the aircraft on top. And then they spend another 1 to move this guy. And he goes 1, 2, 3. And now, technically, you could take the French aircraft here and go and attack the Germans up here. You could actually get to this hex by flying over the German-French border. The problem is that you're at a disadvantage there. Odds are you're not going to get as many sorties on the Germans as you are on you. And the Germans are not hurting for build points right now. They have 17 left, and even if they had to do all 4 of their aircraft, that's only 12. So it's kind of a pointless endeavor. You can do it just for fun. You could try to rack up things. Why don't we see how that works? We're going to have this French unit attack this German unit just as an example of what you can do. Even though West invaded has not happened, the French Air Force can still attack because they're going across German-French borders, not across neutrals. So they attack the German Air Force. The Germans are +2. The French are not. They're just a straight die roll. So the attacker's die roll is a 6. Wow, very good. And the German die roll is a 2. 2 plus 4 is a 6 to 4 on the attack. Let's go check that out. French might have actually got away with one here. A 6 to a 4 is a DR2, so the Germans take 2, and the French take 1. So the French are going to do it again. Now they're -1, and the Germans are a straight die roll. So the attacker's die roll is a 1, and it stays a 1. And the defender's die roll is a 3. So a 1 to 3 on the combat table. I should probably just leave this up. 1 to 3. Now the attacker takes 2. So you have to take 1, and this guy goes up there. That means you're going to make the Germans take at least 2 turns to clear those sorties. Is it really worth it to try and finagle this? I really don't think so, so I'm just going to stop for now. And I'm going to go do the British turn. The British want to move an infantry unit here. The BEF wants to move via sea transport, so the first convoy and the fleet are going to move with them. The fleet for escort, just so you get in the habit of it. They move out to Sea Zone 10. Okay. I didn't get to the whole stack. Arg. So they move out into Sea Zone 10. They will land in Calais for no movement points, so they've only spent 1 movement point. And then the fleet and the convoy, by rule, can keep on moving. They leave the infantry unit, and they go out here. They're still in that sea zone. And I play between putting them in Cherbourg or in Brest. This game I'm going to put them in Brest just to see how it works. And then they each have to get a sortie for that action. Okay. And of course the airplane is buried here, just so people know that there's an airplane in Great Britain. And that is the Western faction. We need to check supply. This British BEF is going to have to be supplied by this convoy, so he's going to add a sortie. And we need to go down to the Middle East for the British, because they do have the Western Desert Force here. So they're just going to go ahead and put a sortie on here and just supply them out of Suez. That ends the operations phase for the West. The Soviets have, I'm trying to emulate something one of my friends did in the game that I'm currently playing. He had a very interesting Soviet setup, which I thought was very, very effective. So, he activates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 infantry units. So we just go ahead and take 7 off. He's going to use this. He's going to move the 7 infantry units he can move. This guy moves to here. This guy moves to here. 1, 2. Guy goes 2. Oh, that was something else. The Russian factory count for Eastern Poland goes up by 1, so they're actually at 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy goes 1, 2, 3. This guy gets ready to go into, this one here goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ready to go grab Estonia. And this guy goes into this hex in Eastern Poland. So that's pretty much the Russian move. He also moved his airplanes back, but I'm going to have to check on exactly where those go. So I'll do that in a future turn after I get a chance to look at his 1941 setup. I'm going to try and emulate it some and see if I can do a better attack on it than I did in his game. He pretty much stymied me. And then the Soviets are all adjacent or within 2 hexes of rail lines, so they're all in supply. And that's the Soviet operations phase. No supply phase. There's nobody that has a no supply marker on them, so we don't have to do that. Replacements for the Germans. They will spend some money here. They have 4 aircraft with sorties, so they're going to go ahead and spend 12. And that leaves them with 5, which is what they needed to have. So this comes down. This one just goes away. We go over here too far. This one goes down, and this one goes away. So that's my 12 points on replacements. Soviets won't have any, but the British and the French will. The French will spend 2 build points to burn and take down theirs. Oops. To click on the unit, I guess. Make that work. And let's see, the British have... How much do they have left? They have 16. They need to leave 5. They have... it costs them 3 for this. I'm just going to leave this here so that I can just grab it and pull it back. So that costs 3. 1, 2, 3. And then, if I remember right, it costs 3 for this convoy and 4 for that ship. So 1, 2, 3 for the convoy. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the ship. And that leaves them 6, so they can also go into. And again, I'm just going to put these sorties here. You tend to have a few sorties floating around for Europe and stuff. So I just kind of keep them out here in the C zone so I can just grab them and don't have to keep doing Control S and back and forth. Just me. You can do it any way you like to keep track. We just found it's easier to just leave things sitting in the C zones or in the gray areas so that you can just grab them when you need them, rather than trying to remember keystrokes. And I believe the Russians really didn't have anything. They don't have anything that's sorties are depleted, so we go right through the replacements there. There are no upgrade units yet. Mobilization, nobody has anything in their cards yet. Oops, wrong cards, what am I doing? Pull up the card, nobody has anything in the mobilization boxes. The Germans and the Russians will next turn, but not this turn. So we can skip through mobilization quickly, which brings us to diplomacy, which is the most exciting thing for the Germans. For me, it's the only reason why you play the 39 to 41 part of the game, is to see which way you can get the miners to line up and all that kind of good silliness. So, Germany spends 5 for go and do a diplomacy pull. They will pull from the cup. Maybe. It claimed that a no event came out of the cup, but I can't find it. The original line up here, highlight this, it said a no event came out of the cup, but I couldn't find one. I don't know what I did that it didn't show up. So I'm going to follow what that first thing was this, and then we move on. So Germans didn't get anything. The British spend 5, hoping for political success. And again, I guess I'm not moving it far enough. So there's a no event that comes out of that cup. All right. Well, the Soviets figure, what the heck, we might as well spend the 5, see if we can't get something to happen here. There. Okay, we pulled 3 no events. That was a whole lot of nothing. But that does mean it's very high probability that something will happen next turn, because there are 7 actual events, 3 pro political successes, I guess is what they're called, 1 Axis pro marker, 2 area Cs, and a political failure. So that's 7 to 3 no events. So there's a 70% chance something will happen next time we pull out of the diplomacy cup. That ends the diplomacy phase. We go to the victory check phase. They haven't killed me yet. Germany still lives, so it's not over. And end of turn phase. So end of turn phase is you basically go to the turn track and bring up the faction card if you need to, because things are going to go into the faction card. I'm going to put it down here, because this here, I have 2 infantry units that go into mobilization, and things in the eliminated box move into mobilization. And then the Western faction actually gets this ground support back in their bucket, and the turn is now officially October. So that is the September 1939 turn. I am going to end it here so that I can see if I have the volume high enough and things like that. I only want to work with 1 turn until I get all my settings correct on the recordings. I will make an appeal to everyone to take the time to go to the Geek Mod link in Board Game Geek. If you're watching this, go in there once a week or so. Review videos like this, review people's articles, session replays, all sorts of wonderful things. They have images, articles, and videos. The geek community decides what gets published. So if you go into there and spend a few minutes taking a look at things and deciding what's good and what's bad, then you'll see the good stuff come out that you've approved, and you'll see stuff that's either substandard or just doesn't have any relevance to the gaming community can be weeded out. So, be that as it may, that is the end of the September 39 turn. I will return with the fall, probably multiple turns if we get lousy weather where I can't do much of anything. And I will see you later. Thank you, bye.